up.
Oh, and he
Hey, welcome everybody. Welcome back to Top of the Stack. I'm your host, Chester Elton, best-selling author and executive coach. You know, this is something we used to do all the time, the top of the stack. You know, everybody's got a stack of books next to their bed. Which one is at the top of the stack? So we're gonna bring it back starting this month, and every month I'm gonna come back and recommend a book that I've been reading or an author that I've met, something to kind of spark your curiosity. I'm just such a fan of feeding your brain, right? Staying curious. One of my favorite quotes of all time, Albert Einstein, who said, "I have no special talents. I am only passionately curious." So I hope this will, make you a little passionately curious about something. Now, for this month, we're going to talk about AI. And I know there's lots of talk and some might say noise around AI. Is it good? Is it bad? Am I going to lose my job? How do I use it if I don't know how to use it? On and on. Well, listen, I met an author that you're going to love. She is so engaging. She's so much fun. And she has a book called Quantum Progression. Now, you got the QR code up there in the corner. Order it now. It'll get to you before Christmas. Quantum Progression, the Quantum Leap Edition, the art and science of career advancement in the age of AI. So we're going to talk about how do you use AI to really enhance how you work and how you play at work, right? Now, I want to introduce our author. She is wonderful. Valerie Capers-Workman. She's the former vice president of people at Tesla, and wonderful story about taking Tesla through the pandemic. Former chief talent engagement officer at Handshake. She's a licensed attorney, can practice in New York, Texas, and Washington, D.C. She has a career spanning Wall Street, Capitol Hill, Silicon Valley. She's been featured in Forbes, the Wall Street Journal, Fortune, CNBC. She's a speaker at South by Southwest, Forbes Power Women's Summit, SHRM Unleash World Power in Paris. I mean, we could go on and on and on. And in her spare time, she's just a great mom and a great friend. The core thesis of the book, and I want to read this to you because it's so brilliantly done, is that AI will not replace you. It will replace the way the job gets done. This is not a competition between you and the person next to you. The competition is between you and your resistance to change. A quote from Valerie Capers-Workman. We are delighted to welcome her to the top of the stack. Valerie, come on in. We are just jazzed that you're here. Thank you so much.
What an intro.
Isn't it funny? We're both authors and we go speak and they read your bio at these conferences and you go, man, I want to meet that person. Who is that? Right?
Sounds great. I'd love to meet her.
Yeah. So listen, let's talk a little bit about your book and the framework. But you were an early adapter of AI, and your first book came out like the year before ChatGPT. So the question I want to ask you is, what did you see early on that other people didn't about how AI was going to impact the workplace?
Yeah, I love that question because when my book was released, I heard a lot of naysayers originally say, oh, she's overblowing it and AI is not going to be that pervasive in the workplace. If it is, it's 10 years away. And then a month later, ChatGPT came out and people started thinking, it might be on to something. And all of a sudden I'm on the speaker tour.
Right.
But the reason why it came on landscape, my landscape is because I worked at Tesla. Yeah. And at Tesla, famously, there was a moment just before I joined where the perception from the CEO was robots would be able to do more of the manufacturing work. And so there was this big push to get the robots to take on a lot of part of the manufacturing, and it didn't quite work out. And so they had to scale back and had to hire more people. And that's when I joined, when that push for, oh, we need people. But there was a lot of talk about what was going to be possible in the future, and a lot of talk about AI. And I started thinking, I wonder if people understand what AI is going to mean to the workplace, and not just in manufacturing. And it really started me thinking, someone needs to get ahead of this and make sure that no one gets left behind. And that's how I got the interest in delving into the field.
Yeah, it is so interesting. Anything new sparks a little bit of fear, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this is how old I am. I remember when fax machines came in, right? Seriously, color TV was a big deal when I was a kid. Anyway, here's the point is, I was in sales, and we literally had sales managers that say, you cannot use the fax machine without permission to send information to your buyers. And I went, like, you've got to be kidding me, right? I mean, everybody should have one on their desk. And then again, with computers, right? Like, why would anybody need a personal computer? And on and on and on. First, there's the fear. Then there's the adaptation. And then it takes off. Yeah. So let's get to the fear of fax machines and the internet and computers. What's the biggest misconception that professionals have about AI and their careers? Because that's what your book is really about.
Yeah, we're in fear mode. And I think the biggest misconception is that people think that in certain roles they won't need it, or in certain job functions it's tangential. In certain roles it's nice to have. At certain levels it's I'll get to it when I can. That's the biggest misconception. Every job is now a tech job, bottom line. And it doesn't matter what you do or what function you are in. You not only need to learn AI, you need to excel in AI, because your performance, you're going to be managed as if you do know it. So that's the biggest misconception, is everyone doesn't need it, or it's calibrated depending on what you do. No, everyone needs it, and everyone needs to excel in it.
Yeah,
that's true.
It's so funny. I was talking to a friend. He says, well, if you don't want to use AI, I mean, AI is not going to replace a plumber. I said, yeah, but if you think your plumber's not going to be using AI, I guess it can.
Exactly.
And by the way, if your plumber's not using AI, you should probably start looking for another plumber,
Exactly.
So this enhancement, I mean, you talk about this quantum progression and moving it. Well, what does quantum progression mean, by the way?
Yeah. So when I was thinking about my career and how I had this amazing career and did the things I did, I realized that I did not pursue a corporate ladder. And I realized that I was making moves based on my ultimate goal, which was to be a chief of something. And so I started to think, what name or phrase could I put on to what I was doing? And quite frankly, I had a meeting with my counsel, which are my two sisters. And we actually had an offsite in Vegas where we were planning our year, which me and my sisters do. And we thought about it. We came up with, quantum, because it's a measurement that it's not linear. And then progression it's not about necessarily moving up, but progression means to advance. Sometimes you're going forward, sometimes you're going backward, but you're always advancing in your career. And so we put quantum to progression together. That is my label for how I believe everyone should be approaching their career, not in ladder, not in stair steps, not necessarily moving forward, but to make progress. And that's why I call it quantum progression.
Yeah. There was the TV show and they redid it again, Quantum Leap, where you would just beam in, to all this stuff. And that's what AI really does for you. I mean, it just brings in so much stuff so quickly. I always love it when we do these live things, because you get people that jump in from all around the world. We got a friend that's jumped in from Nigeria, wants to learn more about AI. So welcome to the show. You talk about thriving with AI.
Yeah.
And what would you recommend when people have a bit of that fear? How would you start to dip your toe into AI? Like, where would you start? Everybody talks about ChatGPT, and so on. Where would you, particularly if you're a worker, you're not in the middle of your career, you're maybe a little past the midpoint, and this kind of change and stuff can be a little disconcerting. So where would you start?
So I'm going to answer that in two pieces. Why and where. Okay. So I want to hit the why first. The why is everything you do on a daily basis, work life, play life, recreation, goals. You can do better with AI. Everything. So think about that for a minute. You can be better at anything you do if you use AI. So make your peace with that.
Yeah. And that's a big promise, right?
That's a big promise, and it is absolutely true. So then how do you get started? Like, where do you begin? I know it sounds cliche, but I'm a fan of the chats as a way to get started. Now, there's not just one.
Right.
It could be ChatGPT. It could be Claude. It could be Grok. It could be Gemini. To me, those are, for me, the big four. Start by asking very basic questions on how to do something better. I'm a chef and I want to make a pancake. How do I make the pancake better? Give me some suggestions. It's a great way to start to understand how chat tools can help you do anything better. I want to lose weight. I want to run a marathon. I want to know the top, 10 movies I need to see in 2026. Start by asking questions. Before we talk about prompt engineering, and we'll get into all of that.
Yeah.
Just ask questions and how to do something better. Pick anything. I want to dress better. I want to, be better at word processing. I want to be better at Excel. What are the 5 things I need to do? Ask it a question. Ask a question. You can pick it. And I'll have my favorites and I'll explain why. Ask chat a question. How to be better at something and see what you get back. And you'll be amazed and you think, oh, if I can do it with cooking, if I can do it with running, if I can do it, maybe I can do it better with marketing or with writing at work or with email. That's the way to get started. Just start by asking questions.
And I love the way you phrase that. How can I do this better? So you've got a little bit of knowledge, right? Like you probably do know how to make a pancake, just not the world's greatest pancake, right?
Right.
And you work through. What are the differences between those 4? You said these are my core 4.
Yeah.
How would you differentiate? Everybody seems to know ChatGPT. The other ones, maybe not so much. Well, Gemini as well, because you kind of get it for free, right?
Okay. So a couple of things I'm gonna just want to talk about. Why is better important?
Okay. Yeah. Sorry.
And then I want to get to the 4. Better is important because you have to know how to do a thing. Subject matter expertise matters. Knowing how to do something matter. AI is not going to teach you how to do the thing. That's why all this talk about higher education is not necessary, going to college is not needed. No, you still need to learn how to do something and how to excel at it. And higher education is still the best way to learn. AI will not teach you how to do something. It will teach you how to do something better. That's the most important way to look at AI. And then when you talk about the big 4, for me, I use them for different things. So for me, Grok I use when I want to sleuth out something. When I want to find out, like when I was looking to publicize my book, who are the podcasters that I need to learn, who are in my space, who are in my lane, and who might be interested in speaking with me? Chester Elton. That I found you through Grok.
That's great. I love Grok now. He's my favorite.
So for me, it's sleuthing. But for how to write something better, how to say something better, I use Claude, because Claude to me is very comprehensive. It writes really well. So I use Claude when I'm trying to think of something to say and I want to say it better. Now remember, everyone's experience is going to be different. For me, chat is good old fashioned. How do I do a thing better? So I have, all of my 3 sons, they're all founders. They all have their own companies. They know mom's a lawyer. I have to do work for them. I don't have that kind of time. So I will take a legal document and I'll put it in chat and I'll say, review this for my founder son. And it'll come back and it'll tell me. Now, the thing is, I'm a lawyer with over 20 years of experience. So I know when it's giving me the right thing to tell my son and when it's giving me because I have the domain expertise, I just don't have time, how to do the thing better. So that's what I use chat for. Gemini is like my replacement for Google because it's, Gemini is Google essentially. Right. But it's like when I want to search something, when I want to do a search for something, I'm trying to find something out, I use Gemini. So that's how I use the 4. And I go into very great detail in my book on how to use these types of tools, whether you're a beginner or you're a super AI user.
Sure. Is one of your sons named Marcus?
Yes.
Okay. Welcome, Marcus. Marcus has joined the conversation. There's no way that's a coincidence.
Hi, Marcus.
You make a statement that I thought was really kind of set the stage. That you said we've moved from the Internet of Things to the AI of everything.
Right.
It really is that comprehensive, isn't it?
Yes.
Now,
Yes.
I've got friends that are big into AI, and we've got some AI coaching platforms and really cool stuff too. But they talk about AI as an alien intelligence. How do you respond to say, look, it's not just the internet, it's actually an intelligent kind of being. And so as you talk to them, you actually do develop a relationship. For example, I've got a friend, he wakes up every morning and chats with his AI friend. I've got another friend who's talking about doing it better, planned his whole family vacation in Europe and said, by the way, best vacation we've ever taken.
Of course.
And so, but how do you, because I saw a little bit of query in your face there about, I'm not so sure it's an alien intelligence.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
flip it up for me a little bit, because when you start talking like that, I'm not sure that puts people at ease.
Yeah, I look at it differently, and again, because I have I've been in tech for a long time. It's not really intelligent. That's because it doesn't know anything. It has a lot of data and a lot of information that it can piece together in unique ways. But people are, in my opinion, humans are intelligent. So I just want to start with that. But
Okay.
but I will say, I hope I get credit for that phrase, because I do believe I coined it. And AI we're in the AI of everything phase, where everything you do can be done better with AI. And so we're getting to the point where I don't answer email without it. If I get a question from my boss who's CEO, I don't respond without it. I have teams, and I say, if I give you something to do not bring it to me without first using an AI tool, because it's going to be better if they use AI. And I know if they haven't used it. So when I say the AI of things, it is the sooner we recognize, especially when you have a job and you work for someone, that AI is going to make you better, the sooner you will begin to put out better work product. So when you think about the AI of everything, it's cooking, it's relationships, it's conversation. So for me, but it doesn't replace the human interaction. I like to say that humanity is the last mile in the AI usage. So in other words, you use the AI tool for if we're talking about a 100-yard project, 90 meters, you're using AI. That last 10 meters requires human decision, human interaction, interpersonal. I'll give you a great example. I was working with a team of execs at my current company, and I was giving them some kind of a difficult task to do, And I had my team members on the call as well, because I believe that you should have everyone on your team learn. So whether you're a coordinator, a manager, if I'm on an exec call and it's something that should be publicly available, I make sure my team is on so they can see me work, watch how I work, watch the interaction, and learn. That's how you grow a team. And so I was giving this really difficult conversation about this difficult project, and the faces that were looking at me from the VPs, you could tell they didn't want to do it. And now AI is not going to read those faces, right? AI cannot read the room. So I could have had a great tool that would tell me like what to say and how to say it. It would have been useless because I'm looking at the faces and looking at the doubters. And so I had to manage and work the virtual room. And after the call, I met with my team and I said, no, tell me what you learned. And they said, we saw how you took a bunch of naysayers and doubters and brought them on to all cheering what you were doing. And I said, that's what AI can't do. AI will never be able to do that, because the reading of emotions, the understanding. Now, however, in prepping for that meeting, of course I use AI because I needed a lot of data, a lot of information. So it's a combination of use the tool, but the domain expertise comes from you, and the intelligence, how to read the room, the EQ. And I talk about EQ in my book.
Yes.
Emotional intelligence is extremely important, and AI doesn't have that either. You need to have it all.
Yeah, thank you for that, because the guys I talk to, the people that are deep into it, said, look, don't be afraid. AI will make you a better human. And I love that phrase. It'll help you because you
Hmm.
prep better. You're more informed. You're better
Hmm.
prepared. You gave me a funny face there. So
If I'm known for anything, I never hold back, and I'm always candid. So I will say this. I'm going to take the counter on that. I don't think AI will make you a better human. I think being human makes you a better human.
okay.
I think AI can make you do things better, can make your actions better. But let me tell you, if you don't have emotional intelligence to know that when you're speaking to someone, you're talking over their head or you're talking down to them or you're making them feel small, it doesn't matter how skillfully you put together what you're saying. If you don't, if you can't read that what you're selling, someone's not buying, you're not going to win in whatever you're
Mhm.
trying to accomplish. So I will say it makes you better at what you do, but emotional intelligence, the understanding of humanity, the connecting on an emotional level, which can be taught, it can be taught, but AI doesn't replace that. It won't replace human beings doing that. So I will say, I don't think AI makes me a better human, but it sure as heck makes me a better executive. I am a better executive because I use AI every minute of every day.
That's great. Hey, our time is flying by. Before we jump into some of your frameworks, which I want to get to, where do people find more about Valerie Capers Workman?
Sure. So the traditional LinkedIn, I'm Valerie Capers Workman on LinkedIn, and I do a lot of posting there. So that's the number one place. I'm also on Instagram, so I have an IG account, Valerie Capers Workman. I'm there. I also post on TikTok. I post on Threads. I am everywhere. So, but for the very traditional follow along in terms of sort of learning how to do the career thing, it's LinkedIn. If you want to be a little bit more sort of personal and what I do day to day and how I'm, navigate the world, it's Instagram.
Excellent. Okay, so you've got the Thrive framework. I want to get through that, and then I do want to get to your get ready, get set, and go because I think
Okay.
that's a great way to wrap up.
Okay.
But you talk about first off, the T in Thrive is tech fluency.
Yeah.
Walk us through Thrive really quick.
Yeah. So the Thrive framework, I came up with this. I want people to understand, what do you need? What specifically do you need to do, understand, and learn in order to excel in the age of AI? What do you need in order to be rated as a 5 in your performance rating, right? What do you need to be in tech world? I still say rock star. What do you need to do to be a rock star? And I came up with Thrive. And the first is T, and it's tech fluent. That doesn't mean just knowing that there's something called chat.
Okay.
That doesn't mean just knowing that there's something called Gemini. That doesn't mean just knowing that there's something called Gamma. That doesn't mean just knowing that there's something called Napkin. I'm just throwing out these AI tools. It means knowing what these tools are, knowing how to use them, and knowing which tools you need in your specific role that will help you be excellent. That's fluent. And if you use the typical language terminology, I can be conversant in Spanish or I can be fluent in Spanish,
Right,
right?
right.
You want to be fluent. You want to be tech fluent. And tech fluency means there's a laundry list of tools that you have at your disposal that you know exactly how to use for you to be better. So in other words, if you're in marketing and you don't know the top 5 tools that the best marketers use, you're not tech fluent. If you're in supply chain, you don't know the top 5 tools. If you're in comms, you don't know the top 5 tools. If you're a lawyer, you don't know the top. You need to know the top 5 tools, what they are, and how to use them in order to be tech fluent. That's really important.
And you can ask, right, your
You
chat,
can ask.
what are the top 5 tools? Just tell me, right? And then
And what I love is, you'll ask all 4 chats, and they'll give you 4. See, this is why they're not perfect, because they'll give you 4 different answers.
right.
And that's where the personal education, the personal learning comes in, because you will not get the same answer from the 4 truth. Almost never. Almost never.
Well, and then you go to human-centric skills, which is what you're talking about. It said,
Yeah.
look, you need that EQ, you need that human talent. So you talk about growing in value as AI evolves, because it's constantly evolving, isn't it?
Right. Right. So the H is human-centric skills, which means, so in this Thrive, the H is you have to be a better human now, right? Because you need to understand that while data and information and technology uses and being fluent is very important, when it comes to that last mile, convincing someone to go your way, delivering a presentation before a group of people, speaking on your behalf in an interview, even though the screen is scrolling, telling you what to say, and all of a sudden that recruiter is not following you along, and then you're lost. So the human, you have to excel at being human. And that's why that EQ is so important. And you can learn how to be better at EQ. It's in my book, but that emotional understanding of how to communicate better, extremely important, more important now than ever.
Well, what would you say to, an entrepreneurial, really smart young man who says, look, AI is going to make people lazier and less critical thinkers? How would you respond to, let's call him Marcus?
Well, you know what? Even if it wasn't Marcus that said that is true. Because here's the problem with AI. I find the tendency for even me to do less I have to fight now to do more critical thinking.
Okay.
Because you can be so comforted, it does so much work for you, and you can get lazy. For example, when I answer email now, or no, better yet, LinkedIn.
Okay.
I scroll through LinkedIn and I look at who I want to comment on. And I say, oh, Chester did something real. I like what he said. I want to comment on it. You know what I do? I copy and paste what you said. I put it in chat. I say, answer and give me a post for Chester. And then I read it and say, yep, that looks good. And I post it. Now, I didn't do that a year ago. Okay. I didn't do that a year ago. So there is you could say lazy, or you could say, effective. One person's lazy is one person's effective.
Or efficient.
Efficient. But as it learns me, as my tools learn me, they get better and better at saying the things the way that I would say them. And so initially, I wouldn't say that to Chester. That sounds terrible. And I'm editing and I'm editing and I'm editing. Now, when I say comment for Chester, it's me. And I do it faster, and I can comment on, 50 posts instead of 5. But again, that tendency to, and I'll give you a good example where Marcus is talking about. We all know about the lawyers who got in trouble for putting legal briefs together and then citing cases that did not exist. I mean, literally, now think about this for a minute. Think about how lazy you have to be to create a brief that you're going to present to a judge, have the chat tool write the brief for you, and cite cases, and don't take the time to read the cases, look up the cases, and figure out if the citations are correct. So yes, you can get lazy and you can lose your job. And it turns out, though, not only were those cases fictional, but they were completely made. They weren't like misplaced cases. The cases never occurred, never happened. So if you don't know, you have to have domain expertise and do work. Even when chat spits something out, you still got to do the work. You still have to do the work.
My favorite part of that story was the judge said, well, didn't you check the resources? And he said, I did. I asked ChatGPT, are these real cases? And it said, yes. That was all he did. That. Yeah, you gotta. Yeah.
But the cool thing, real quick, about the chats will be when you catch them hallucinating, and when you catch them giving you gibberish, you will say, what you just said didn't make sense. And then it will say, oh, I'm sorry, you're absolutely right. What I said didn't make sense. Now, some people would have taken that output and put it somewhere. They might have put it in a research paper. They might have put it in a speech. They might say, without checking and questioning, which is why you have to have that EQ,
right? You
can wind up, getting very lazy and really making a fool of yourself if you rely on AI without doing the work.
So listen, we're not going to get through the rest of Thrive because it would be like a 2-hour conversation.
Read the book.
Buy the book, right? You get the QR code. And by the way, anybody can buy one book. Buy one for yourself and one for a friend. It makes for a great gift. I do want to wrap up with this last question that you sent to me through ChatGPT. So it's going to be great. Is what do you tell someone who feels like it's too late to adapt? Like they're a little older and they go like, look, it's past me. What advice would you give them?
Yeah. So I will say this. I feel your fear. I understand it. When I went to work at Tesla, I was very mature and I felt very, out of place. And I was wondering if I was going to fit into this, hyper younger tech bro culture. And I was really concerned about how was I going to fit in. And then when I got into the door, got into those rooms, I started to realize, you know what? Everybody started somewhere at some point.
Yep.
Everybody starts. So the key is just to start. Forget about how long it's been. Forget about how afraid you are. Just start somewhere. But you have to start, because I will tell you this. It's not too late right now, but the clock is ticking. And at a certain point, you're going to let too much time go by. So you must get started. But again, that's why I wrote the book, because it's a play-by-play on exactly what you need to do, how you need to do it, what resources you need. So if you read my book, you will go from way behind to what the heck is going on to feeling completely ready for 2026 and ready for the future. I promise you that. Promise.
Yeah, and it's a great guarantee. And to your point, how do you get started? Buy the book. It's right there. Big fan of books, big fan of curiosity. Valerie, thank you so much for coming. Again, follow her on LinkedIn, follow her on Instagram. The energy is there. You can tell that she's really passionate about it. And listen, I love that as a parting note. Just get started.
Just get started. Just get started. And if I could say really quickly, the saying that's going on around right now from some very high level, very prominent, very respected people, that AI is not going to replace you, it's going to replace the person next to you that is using AI. That phrase is gone. That is 2 years old. That is not true anymore. What is going to matter is not you and the person next to you. It is you and you. Don't focus on who's on left and right. It's the competition between you and your resistance to change. That's all you should focus on. Don't worry about the people next to you.
I love it. Resistance to change. Well, thanks again. Appreciate it. Hey, and thanks for everybody that's tuning in. We're going to replay it on LinkedIn all over the place. It's called Top of the Stack. Feed your brain, be passionately curious, and you'll turn into Einstein. That's my that's my promise. Delighted to have you here. Have a great holiday season, everybody. Keep reading, keep feeding your brain. We'll see you next month at Top of the Stack. For now, have fun. Get started. AI. It's not too late.
Thank you, Chester. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, stick around, Valerie. We'll chat for a bit.
Will do.